Hello, welcome back. I was about to say, we could call this an episode, couldn't we? Chapter review, look through, read through, yada yada reaction of Red, White, and Royal Blue. We're on chapter 9. I feel like we're rapidly snowballing the chapters here. Well, for me at least, but I'm loving it. I am trying to throw as much energy as I can into this because I finished chapter 9 about half an hour ago, and I've just been loitering around, just been like, I'll brush my teeth, do my hair, because I'm so sad. The end of this chapter just like crushed me a little, more than a little. I was like, I want to sit in this feeling because it's like good and it means I care and the writing was so good and this chapter was fantastic. But I was just like, holy shit, I was sad. Like, it was such a fun chapter and I kind of didn't realize what was coming because we'll get into it. But it goes into a sad route, but it's a little bit different than the movie. So I was expecting it to like not hit me as soon, and then I was like, holy shit. Oh god, things are happening. But we do get the lake house chapter, which is fun. I tried to I'm in a shirt again. I'm like ready for vacation, which they are on. So spirits up for the first. The majority of this chapter is just the absolute best. I feel like, and I said this probably in the last chapter, I was like, chapter 7 was so fantastic, but then chapter 8 was great. I feel like we had a turning point. We hit a turning point where the first 6 chapters were fantastic, but they hadn't hit this like point. And I think this is like saying this now, I'm just like, actually, that's just how stories work. It starts off like, usually like fun, gets you like kind of hooked, and then they hit you like with the deep stuff, the sad stuff, like the real like crux of the stories going on. Yeah, that's just how stories works. I'm dumb. I'm like, chapter 7, everything just got really serious and I'm loving it. But it has, we went deep dived into Henry, then chapter 8 we deep dived into Alex, and now we're kind of getting like a bit of both, some like more, it's just, everything is being fantastic. But I will say, like last chapter, this is going to be part of a read-along, because I circled a lot of little bits, and I was talking about this the other day. I was like, I love doing my, like, reading a quote and then talking about it. But I feel like sometimes when I just pick bits out of, like, big chunks, I miss too many good things. And, like, I'm here to talk, like, I'm here to read the book. I've read the chapter. I want to read these bits again. They're so good. And, like, when I want to talk about them, I don't want to miss any of the good stuff. So, there's a lot of, like, big ones in this this chapter that was just, like, I can't take out any of, like, that good source material because, this chapter, chapter 9, yep, that's what we're on, had some, like, she picked up the pen and she used it. The penmanship was on point this chapter. I don't know, reading it, I was like, oh, like, it's gone from book to novel. Just, you know what I mean? When, like, because they had the fun millennial topic, I don't remember how, the fun, like, they talk about Snapchat and doing stuff, and then sometimes she writes it in a way I'm like, whoa, like, that was, like, the wording and the way she described things was just perfect. And it's been a good chapter, but we should get into chapter 9. So we begin chapter 9 with the fallout of Zara catching them and then being like, oh shit, and you gotta tell your mum and all this different stuff. So we jump straight into telling, I'm like, Ellen? Yes. I always go to call her Elaine for some reason. But Ellen. Okay, he repeats. Alright, so I realized I'm not straight. I'm actually bisexual. Her expression clears and she laughs, unclasping her hands. Oh, that's it, sugar? God, I was worried it was going to be something worse. She reaches across the table, covering his hands with hers. That's great, baby. Like, so cute. Like, we love a good coming out story. I mean, it goes very well. He does get kicked off, he gets fired, But, it's really sweet to see. It's nice. I enjoy, especially in gay media, you do have a lot of them, and which is, I understand why, and it's completely makes sense. You have a lot of stories where the coming outs go horribly, and that makes sense because it is emblematic of real life. Not everyone gets a great coming out story, not everyone is accepted, which is horrible, but it happens. It's a thing that happens in life, and I get why in media they show it because it's real. But it's nice when, you have these medias that like portray a nice one. It shows a lot of hope, and maybe the world's changing and things are good, and it just makes you happy to see. Like, even though they're fictional characters, they're not real. It's nice to see, people be accepted. It's just a nice thing, and also it kind of adds this like, he also like, it's not like he doesn't have problems, and throwing that like extra thing on him, especially onto a fictional character, is just like horror. Like, sometimes you don't need it, and it's just nice. All I'm saying is it's nice. It's not to diminish the story or anything, but I feel like also I couldn't deal with it if he also had a bad coming out. But she's the president and she campaigns for like good things. We knew where it was going. But then he drops the second bombshell on her, which is objectively a lot worse for her. She's like, it's not who you love, it's who you love, and who he loves is too complicated. I'm happy for you. I hope you had them do all the paperwork. It's he interrupts. It's Henry. A beat. She frowns, her brow knitting together. Henry? Yeah, Henry. Henry as in the prince? Yes. Of England? Yes. So, not another Henry. No, Mum, Henry, the Prince of Wales. I love how much in denial. I feel like on every one where she was like, no, that Henry, she's like, she's thinking about it, she's like, holy shit, the PR nightmares, what they gotta hide, he can't be like, I felt like as every time she said it, she was like thinking about it and thinking how much it could be. Not only for her, I will not think of her as but she is running for president, and that is a big deal, and she has to think about her. But even for, Alex, that's gonna be a lot for them in the future, which I think she realizes more than he does, actually, knowing what happens at the rest of this chapter. She's really prepared for what's going to be going on and how their life would work and be structured, which unfortunately he's not there. Well, he's too in love to think about it, which is like the best thing ever for them, or for Alex, but it's rough, and it only gets rougher. But I love it how she's just like, we'll reconvene here, I'll order food, bring your passport and any receipts and relevant documents you have, sugar. She doesn't wait to hear if he's free. She just walks backward out of the room and disappears into the corridor. The door isn't even finished closing when a notification pops up on his phone. Calendar request from Mum, 2 p.m, West Wing, first floor, International Ethics and Sexual Identity Debrief. What a presidential way to do it. It's just so funny. I can't imagine that sort of obviously everyone has very different parenting, but just scheduling it in the calendar, being like, okay, so we're going to talk about this in an hour so I can get my shit together, I can make a PowerPoint, we can focus group and think about this whole thing. The way she just didn't go into it there. Obviously she's the president, she got a lot of things on her plate, she needs to move some things around, but I love the way that it's just I'll schedule an appointment in an hour so I can collect my thoughts, make a quick PowerPoint, think of some funny bits. But we get into all the PowerPoint, into all the nitty gritty of it. So she says, here's the thing. I know I put a lot on you, but I do it because I trust you. You're a dumbass, but I trust you. I trust your judgment. I promised you years ago I would never tell you to be anything you're not. So I'm not going to be the president or the mother who forbids you for seeing him. She takes another breath, waiting for Alex to nod that he understands. But, she goes on, this is a really fucking big deal. Which, yes, you are saying you want to date the Prince of England, the Prince of Wales, which, again, the casualness of it. Well, she kind of gets it, even though she's the bloody president. But you're like, yeah, this is like gonna be like a big thing for the rest of your life. And then jumping forward, she talks about how, whether it's forever or not, it's gonna be forever a thing for you. But also, she says, I'm so sorry to do this to you, sugar, but you're off the campaign. Which, I understand, you know what I mean? Like, I get it, and I don't. It's not like she does it maliciously or anything. It's not out of, he's done anything wrong. There's just a lot of things going on in her life, and I feel like she should have said, you're off the campaign for now, but we can get you back full into politics, when we finish this. It is a good thing for him to maybe take that step back and not be fully on the politics train all the time, because he's marching very quickly into it, which we again get into. I understand where she's coming from. She's got so much to deal with, worry about, being the president, getting re-elected, the first woman in their universe. Their universe is our universe, but also I don't know America. Yeah, first woman president. It's a big thing, and I agree that she is right in, focusing on that, because she still is loving and accepting her child. She's not, I don't think kicking him off the campaign is anything that will really hurt or scar him. I think she's just like, mothering, I love you. Mothering and president, I'm not going to stop you from seeing him. President, we're going to kick you off the campaign. And that's, it's bad, but it's not the worst thing that could ever happen in life for him. And then she quickly just yells out by the way, you still have to use, she jumps from president to mum back and forth so quickly. I love it. It's hilarious. But, we jump into some emails, because Alex has been kicked off, and what does Alex do when he's not literally doing campaigny smart people stuff, politics stuff? He's talking to his boyfriend, still not boyfriends, which drives me nuts. How can you be like this so much and not be well, obviously he's the Prince of England. Okay, yeah, I get it. I've read this chapter. I know where it's going. These emails are fantastic, and there are some big bits that I gotta read out and some fun quotes. I just love it. And he read this and was thinking about Henry. The truth is, I am an unlucky, honest man that speak my sentiments all and with emphasis. I say this to you because you know it and will not change me with vanity. I hate Congress, I hate the army, I hate the world. I hate myself. The whole world is a mass of fools and knaves. I could almost accept you. Thinking about history makes me wonder how I fit into it one day, I guess. And you too. I kinda wish people still wrote like that. History, huh? I bet we could make some. Lot to unpack there. Firstly, history, huh? I bet we could make some. Yeah, I know. It's a line. It's a good line. Everyone and their mother on Twitter is bloody tweeting that line. It's in all the edits. It's in everything. Everyone likes that line so much, and I get it. It really hits. It hits hard. It hits hard home and hits well. But it's so cute. I just love the fact that he's using this quote to be like, I kind of just hate, obviously it's not realistically, but to me it's kind of like you are my light, you are my love, you are the thing that, keeps me going. And I think it was really cute. And just how he fits into history, and, we could make some, which they could, first son of the United States and the bloody Prince of Wales. Yeah, I think they could make some bloody history pretty easily. First of all, he says, the phrase, see attached biography, is the single sexiest thing you've ever written to me, which I think is hilarious. I love their banter. It is unmatched. Reading out. Every time you mention your slow decay inside the White House, I can't help but feel it's my fault. I feel absolutely shit about it. I'm sorry. I should have known better than to turn up at that thing like that. I got carried away. I didn't think. I know how much that job meant to you. I just want to, extend the option. If you wanted less of me, and more of that, the work, the uncomplicated things, I would understand, truly. Henry is one understanding man, and he is beautiful for that. He's just like, he's kind of just like, we could slow things down, or in my mind, in writing that, he's like, we can end things. Like, if your work is what's important to you, and it's something I know you love, and you put your life and effort into that, and that's what you want, that's your dream, we can stop. He's like, I can stop love. In my mind, that's an admission of love. He's like, we can stop this so you can go. You can keep one of your loves and not the other. Give up me for this. I thought it was beautiful, and it's so sad too, because obviously I'm like, no, don't you, I'm like, Henry, you fucking take that back. Don't you dare offer that. What if he takes it? Obviously, I didn't think he was going to take it because Alex is falling madly in love with this man. But I was like, don't extend that opinion. I was like, that's terrible. And also, but it's beautiful. He knows how much it means to him, and he knows, what he can do. He's like, I don't want this, but if that is your decision, I will respect it. Which is, respect and communication is the best thing ever in a relationship. We jump down the page. This is where I was talking about in my intro about just the penmanship. This, I don't know how long it goes. This little section here it spoke to me. I loved it. Should I tell you that when we're apart, your body comes back to me in dreams? That when I sleep, I see you, the dip of your waist, the freckle above your hip. And when I wake up in the morning, it feels like I've just been with you, the phantom touch of your hand on the back of my neck, fresh and not imagined, that I can feel your skin against mine, and it makes every bone in my body ache, that for a few moments I can hold my breath and be back with you, in a dream, in 1,000 rooms, nowhere at all. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Did you hear that also, that I ripped the page when turning it? Because that's how, frantic I was. The thing I hate about books, A, they're fragile. Books are fragile, paper's fragile. Sorry, we're going on a tangent here. B, I hate it when there's, a really good bit of a book and it extends over 2 pages. I also hate, when lines go and then they add a dash and finish off the word on that. I can't deal with it. It's not satisfying to me, and it kills me. I'm just get the good bits in one paragraph on a page so I can see it all at once and I can appreciate it on the one page, and keep the words just together. Sorry, but that, the way he just writes, he's like, I am an author, I want to write novels, but also you want me to write beautifully to you. You like the thought of writing beautiful letters. I'll write something beautiful. Your thought, the phantom touch, the dreaming of you, it's beautiful. And then he says, I think perhaps Hamilton said it better. You engross my thoughts too entirely to allow me to think of anything else. You not only employ my mind all day, but you intrude upon my sleep. I meet you in every dream, and when I wake, I cannot close my eyes again, for ruminating on your sweetness. Ooh, the mix of her writing beautiful things and then these quotes, which I'm assuming are real quotes, just kills me. It kills me. Doesn't it not make you want to I don't know, send letters to find a true love and send letters, but also be able. Mine would be Illy, I can't write like this, and it makes me want to die, because I'm I want to be able to send beautiful letters. I want to grab a falcon on my arm and send it out into the world to deliver it to someone, and they can read all the beautiful things I write. I don't know, it makes me jealous, even though theirs is done by email, but the way they write is so beautiful, and it makes me jealous. Then, in Alex's response, we also get some more beautiful email. The way they write this in emails, and the way that, because obviously we know their emails and stuff leak. If I lived in this universe, I'd be eating this shit up. I would start a drama channel just to talk about and read through all their emails. Imagine being a member of the just general public on Earth, getting to read all this good stuff. Oh my god. The gossip channel, the gossip channels on YouTube, the drama channels, would be having the biggest field day, and I would be loving it. Oh, it would be the best thing ever. yeah, so these emails are fantastic. I get why everyone wanted them and was like, the emails are so good in the book. I get it. I want to see you again, and soon. I keep reading that one paragraph over and over again. You know which one. I want you back here with me. I want your body, and I want the rest of you too. I want to get the fuck out of this house. Watching June and Nora on TV, doing appearances without me is torture. We have this annual thing at my dad's lake house in Texas. Whole long weekend off the grid. There's a lake with a pier, and my dad always cooks something fucking amazing. You wanna come? I kinda can't stop thinking about you sunburned and pretty, sitting out there in the country. It's the weekend after next. If Shan can talk to Zara or someone else about flying you to Austin, I can pick you up. Say yes? Say yes! Say yes! Oh, it's just, like, I thought that was a different paragraph. Like, it's not the paragraph that I thought that was written beautifully, but just, like, the way he's just... It's weird, because he's, like, he's gotten off the politics train, and he's like, oh, well, all my eggs are gonna be put in this boyfriend basket. This is what I do now. I could just be, you know, the Prince of Wales's boyfriend, and that will be my new life, and we will live in Texas, and, you know, we can just keep the spare parts for the king there, and it will be fine. But I love how much they need each other. And it's true, like, you know, when something shitty happens, you need people that, you know, you can feed off and make you happy and you enjoy them, whether it be love or friendship or family or any sort of relationship, but I think that covers most of them. But the way he's just like, say yes, please. This is a fantastic reply to that email. It refers to, I skipped over it, but, you know, Alex talking about how does Henry come to be who he is, and Henry just writes him a reply that is like a children's book, like a fantasy story. I just thought it was so fun, and just it was also like tragic, and the way it was written was just amazing. So I'm gonna read it all out, and sorry, but we're just doing a full reading. This is like 2 pages, but you get to hear it again in my mediocre reading ability and voice, but I loved it so much. Once there was a young prince who was born in a castle. His mother was a princess scholar, and his father was the most handsome, fair knight in all the land. As a boy, people would bring him everything he could ever dream of wanting, the most beautiful silk clothes, ripe fruit from the orangery. At times he was so happy, he felt he would never grow tired of being a prince. He came from a long, long line of princes, but never before had there been a prince quite like him, born with his heart on the outside of his body. When he was small, his family would smile and laugh. They say he would grow out of it one day, but as he grew, it stayed where it was, red and visible and alive. He didn't mind it very much, but every day the family's fear grew that the people of the kingdom would soon notice and turn their backs on the prince. His grandmother the queen lived in a high tower, where she spoke only of other princes, past and present, who were born whole. Then, the prince's father, the knight, was struck down in battle. The lance tore open his armor and his body left him bleeding in the dust. And so, when the queen sent new clothes, armor for the prince, to parcel his heart away safe, the prince's mother did not stop her, for she was afraid now, afraid of her son's heart torn open too. So the prince wore it, and for many years he believed it was right, until he met the most devastatingly gorgeous peasant boy from a nearby village, who said absolutely ghastly things to him and made him feel alive for the first time in years, and who turned out to be the most mad sort of sorcerer, one who could conjure up things like gold and vodka shots and apricot tarts out of absolutely nothing, and the prince's whole life went up in a puff of dazzling purple smoke, and the kingdom said, "I can't believe we're all so surprised. I'm in for the lake house, I must admit. I'm glad you're getting out of the house. I worry you may burn the thing down. Does this mean I'll be meeting your father? I miss you, Henry." Wow. I just, like, it's not even the writing that is the most fantastical thing ever, and just the way she kind of summarizes it in this, like, fantasy kids, like, story. It's the fact that Henry is writing his, like, autobiography in this style to Henry to answer a question, and just it's so like beautiful, and the thoughts, he, having his heart outside, he's been different. His dad dies, and they, lock it up, tell him to hide it so nothing can happen to him. But then he's like, his emotions are kind of locked away until he meets the peasant boy, which is hilarious that he makes Alex the peasant boy. Like, it makes sense. But, he feels alive for the first time. It's just, like, a beautiful summary of the chapters, like, before this. And it resonated with me, who's someone who likes simple, lovely little stories, but also, like, that fantasy vibe. I thought it was so much fun, and I was reading it, and I was like, could I not get, like, 3 more pages of this, please? Because I was enjoying it so much. Henry gets flown to Texas. They pick him up in a Jeep? Yes, a Jeep. Alex at this point is madly in love. He's got his mind playing on so many different things, but also, since he's not thinking as much about politics, he's thinking about Henry. He's thinking about his relationship, his place in the world. What is he without politics? Which is really interesting. When one of your core, like, values and things that you do and interact with is taken away, like, what are you left with and who are you? Like, a big bit of his self-identity is gone. And, things come back to him in his mind, like when his mum says, do you feel forever about him? Forever's a long word, forever's a long time. And, it quiets and it goes in and out throughout the chapter. Like, when he's with him, it's heightened, but it's also quietened because he gets to experience him. But they meet him at the lot, and I just love this this bit. Hi, love, he hears Henry say quietly, privately, right into the hair above his ear, and Alex's breath forgets how to do anything but laugh helplessly. Just the way that they're like, they're in front of people and they don't want to be like too in their relationship, but they also are. And he just says the like, hi love, like so quietly that only he can hear. Like they do so much where it's done in a way where it's only for each other. And I think that's beautiful, like keeping these small moments just between them, even though they're sharing their relationship with everyone. It's just that is just for you. And I think it's beautiful. And it was great. So we get to see Oscar Diaz more. I get to actually like see his name and like try and remember it instead of just calling him Alex's dad, because I'm scared of getting it wrong because I keep forgetting. But I just like, he gets to meet his dad. Henry steps forward. Oscar looks him up and down. The Burberry bag, the cooler on his shoulder, the elegant smile, the extended hand. His dad had been confused, but ultimately willing to roll with it when Alex asked if he could bring a friend, and casually mentioned the friend would be the Prince of Wales. He's not sure how things will go. Hello, Henry said. Good to meet you. I'm Henry. Oscar slaps his hand into Henry's. Hope you're ready to fucking party. He just like completely like shatters all this, like, this is a fun, like, don't be formal. I love how they did it in the book. I love how they did it in the movie. It's like, we're here to have fun. Like, who cares about all the, like, we're all politics. We're all big people. But, like, also, we're just here to have some fun. And it's cute. And, Alex, we get to see the side of Alex where he just, cooks with his dad and, cooks for the people and, like, watches and enjoys. And Nora and June get to do all this fun stuff. I love when he's looking outside and they're all, like, joking around. And Alex smiles to himself, watching them. Henry and his girls. Like, that is set up. That is, like, your husband and your best friends. This is, like, a forever thing. But he gets talking with his dad about a couple of different things. First, we talk about Luna. Yeah, they didn't take the news so well. Oh, I should preface. They talk about his dad's relationship with Luna. I don't think we'll ever get into that private hush-hush conversation that we got to speak about. But he talks about why he chose Luna to be, I don't know, work for him, a political person. I don't know how all they like related and stuff. But he was talking about after he came out. Yeah, they didn't take the news so well. He had a rough couple of years, but it made him tough. The night we met him, it was the first time he'd been back to California since he got kicked out. But he was damn sure he was going to come and support a brother out of Mexico City. It was like when Zara showed up to your mum's office in Austin and said she wanted to prove those bastards wrong. You know a fighter when you see one. So obviously, like, we don't like Luna because, like, he switched, he changed sides, he's working for the enemy, but it's nice to see that Oscar still respects him in a way. You know, he's like, you know, a good, like, strong queer man who, like, had something to prove, and he's like, that's a person that he knew could, like, try and change things or do well, whether he's annoyed or not that he's, like, switched sides working for the enemy. I like that he at least talks about his character in a way. Then they get to talking about Henry. He's tougher than he looks. Not bad for a European, his dad says, but in a half the idiots June's brought home. Alex's hands freeze, and his head jerks back to his dad, who is still stirring with a heavy wooden spoon, face impartial. Half the girls you're brought home too. Not better than Nora though. She'll always be my favourite. Alex stares at him, until his dad finally looks up. What? You're not as subtle as you think. I don't know, Alex sputters. I thought you might need to, like, have a Catholic moment about this or something. His dad slaps him on the bicep with the spoon, leaving a splatter of creamer and cheese behind. Have a little faith in your old man. Have a little more faith in your old man than that. A little appreciation for the patron saint of gender-neutral bathrooms in California, little shit. Which I think is so cute. Like, you know, having the, you know, both comings out with, you know, your mum and your dad in this, like, chapter was really nice. And just to see the way that it's done, and just, it's nice, and their parents are good. Obviously, you know, they're on, from what I know of like, American politics, they're on the, like, more, they're the more, what is it? Are they liberal and conservative? Are they the words? Oh no, I don't know anything. But the more, in the word, not the political, the liberal side, they're the more progressive side, generally, I think, from what I know of and seeing movies. But so, obviously, you would have thoughts that they would be better than if they were not, but it's just nice to see how, like, cute they are. Then we just get more good Alex and Henry stuff. I love the way we just see small bits about their, like, things they notice, and it's the things you notice which, like, creates this love. Alex has never eaten barbecue with his hands before. Alex demonstrates and watches with poorly concealed glee as Henry gingerly picks up a rib with his fingertips and considers his approach, cheering as Henry dives face first and rips a hunk of meat off with his teeth. He chews proudly, a huge smear of barbecue sauce across his upper lip and the tip of his nose. There are just some scenes that I want them to recreate with the actors, because I just want to see, like, just an image, a still image of, like, the actors doing these scenes, because I think that would be so cute, just seeing Nicholas Glitzine, like, smiling with, like, barbecue sauce on with a rib in his hand, and, like, Alex just been, like, so happy. There are just certain, like, little bits that I see and I go, I can see how this would, like, I can see it in my mind. I can see the actors doing it. I want them to recreate it so bad. But there are just small little things like that that are making me fall in love with them. And speaking of love, and the breeze keeps moving to meet the highest branches of the trees, and the water keeps rising to meet the bulkheads, and Henry leads down to meet Alex's mouth, and Alex is so in love he could die. Oh, he finally said it. It's crazy that, like, they're not, like, in a relationship, but is in love. Like, they're in a relationship, but they're not, like, in, like, a named one. They're not boyfriends or anything. But we get a lot of love talk, which I'm enjoying. He's thinking about, like, his place in the world more, which I talked about earlier, and he's just like, maybe there is a chance I could just, like, live out here, live at the lake house, you know, just live a quiet life, doing quiet things with the person I love. And he does understand, really. He loves Henry, and it's nothing new. He's been falling in love with Henry for years, probably since he first saw him in glossy print on the pages of J14. Most definitely since Henry pinned Alex to the floor of a medical supply closet and told him to shut the hell up. That long, that much. It fills my soul. It fills my soul so much. It's just that they, after loving the movie so much as not having anything, and then getting all this like more stuff to like fill me in, it has been fantastic. Like to love something a lot and then to further your love for it, and then them talking about love, it kills me. And then he makes breakfast for everyone because he gets up and he's hungover, but he's still filled with like giddy glee and love for Henry, and he loves everyone there, and it's just a really like, this is why I was so sad at the end, because they build up such a happy, positive, loving chapter, and everything is going so well. So I'll stay on that thought until we get further in. It's only a step away from the coffee maker, but Alex reaches back and gets a hand on Henry's hair before he can move, pulling him into a kiss on the mouth for this time. Henry huffs a little in surprise, but returns it fully. Alex forgets momentarily about the pancakes and everything else. Not because he wants to do absolutely filthy things to Henry, maybe even with the apron still on, but because he loves him. And isn't that wild, to know that that's what makes the filthy things so good? He's kind of just saying like, like obviously he's saying, the sex is great, but it's like loving him and knowing I love him and loving someone, like having sex with someone you love is so much like that, having that emotional connection on a deeper level makes everything better. And obviously I think that's what, the best thing about love is, it just makes everything better. It can make everything, it's such a strong emotion. It makes everything you feel just that much, much more, which is just crazy. That's why the highs in this chapter are so beautiful and strong, because the love you can see that they feel is so impactful and fun. And when the things go wrong, the love is so like hard to deal with that it makes everything sadder. But they're, on a boat, he's watching Henry and Oscar talk about sailboats. A complex discussion that on outboard motors that Alex can't hope to follow. He leans back against the bow and watches, and it's so easy to imagine it. A future Henry who comes to the lake house with him every summer, who learns how to make elotes and ties neat cleat hitches and fits right into the place in his weird family. Like, he can just, the way he's decided, he's admitted he loves him. He's loved him for years. Then he's like, oh, I love that I love you. And now he's like, I can see a future with you here forever. Like, on these 2 pages, you get 4 bits of a very serious love journey. And it's amazing, especially when you just see them, like, so close together. I thought this little insert was very interesting. I loved the way it was written and, what it meant. He wears the key to his childhood home around his neck, but he doesn't know the last time he actually thought about the boy who used to push it in the lock. Maybe losing the job isn't the worst thing that could have happened. He thinks about roots, about first and second languages, what he wanted when he's a kid and what he wants now, and where those things overlap. Maybe that place, the meeting of the two, is here somewhere, in the gentle insistence of the water around his legs, crude letters carved with an old pocket knife, the steady thrum of another person's pulse against his. I just love this introspection from him, this chapter. Like, obviously, without all this politics stuff, he really gets to look back on what he is without it. Because, having something that you're interested in and a career and a goal and a dream is great and very important, and not a lot of times do you just lose something like that completely. And he hasn't lost it, but it's been taken away from him, and he's young, so it's not as... But for him to be so driven for so long and be surrounded by something and just have it, taken away for at least a little bit of time where he can't really interact with it or the politics. Just thinking about who he is in the world and why he's here and what he wants to do, and is he the same person he used to be, and what things overlap. I think it's a good thing. Like, I think about it a lot. I think a lot of people do. You have a lot of quiet moments, or when things are going good, you think like, how did I get here? And there's a lot of things that resonate with this, with introspection and rumination and thinking back on yourself. And I think it's very relatable, and I think it's a good thing to talk about in such a good light. And it makes me ask those questions too, you know, when he's talking about what he wanted as a kid, what he wants now, where those things meet, what he can take from that. It makes me think. I'm like, oh, what did I want as a kid? Like, what do I want now? What are these? Do these things intersect? Do I have what I want where I'm going? What am I fulfilled? It makes you ask a lot of questions. I don't know if it does for everyone, but for me, definitely, when characters are asking these things for themselves, it definitely makes me think about them and do a little bit of thought, which I like to do. You know, I think I'm a person that loves to just think, which is surprising because on here you only see me talk so much. But I love to, you know, think and be quiet and take things in, and having these like prompts for yourself, even though it's just in a story, they help you really get the ball rolling, which I love. He takes Henry out, you know, on the pier, and I'm pretty sure, I'm like, I need to look past this. It's nighttime. So when they go on the lake in the movie, it's daytime, and it's the same like scenes, but it's daytime in the movie. That's why I thought, oh well, what's gonna happen isn't gonna happen here because it's daytime in the movie. So maybe it'll be tomorrow for the book. But I also get that because, you know, night scenes are usually just sometimes worse in movies, because when you want it to be night and you want it to be dark, you can't see as much. And some shows and movies do it badly where it's too dark to see anything and then you don't care. I'm looking at you, House of the Dragon. Sorry, this is what I'm thinking of. A show that I love a lot, but they had a couple of night scenes where you couldn't see fucking anything and it drove me nuts. But, so they jump into, well, Alex, you know, takes some clothes off, jumps into the water. You're a menace, Henry says when Alex breaks back to the surface. But he only hesitates briefly before stripping out of his clothes. He stands naked at the edge of the pier, looking at Alex's head and shoulders bobbing in the water. The lines of him are long and I hate words that I can't read. In the moonlight, just skin and skin and skin, lit soft and blue. And he is so beautiful that Alex thinks this moment, the soft shadows and pale thighs and crooked smiles, could be a portrait of Henry that goes down in history. History again. There are fireflies winking around his head, landing in his hair. A crown. That is the most, like, I can just see Nicholas Glitzine nude on a pier, just like with the, you know, the light of the moon on his like shoulders and like a crown of fireflies. I need to like Google some fan art. Obviously, I can see him from like here up, because I'm not going to be crass. I'm not going to be saying that I need it to be a nude shot, but I can see like a beautiful fan art of just like, you know, like waist up of him in the night with like a firefly crown like lighting up. I think that would be so cool, or look so beautiful. And obviously, if I was Nicholas Glitzine, I would have been like, hey, can someone just like CGI some fireflies around my head? I want a really cool like nighttime headshot of me with that thing. Because I just think the description of that is so cool. Like to have a crown of fire. I don't know why it sticks out to me so much. I'm just like, I love crowns and like a glowing crown in the nighttime. I just think it's such a cool sounding shot that I'd love to see it. But you know, they're talking about things, they're being cute, and then we really jump into things. This is where it starts to go downhill. Hey, he says, his mouth right up in a breath space from Henry's. He watches a drop of water roll down Henry's perfect nose and disappear in his mouth. Hi, Henry says back, and Alex thinks, God damn, I love him. It keeps coming back to him, and it's getting harder to look at Henry's soft smiles and not say it. He kicks out a little to turn them in a slow circle. You look good out there. It's just been so intense lately. I needed this. Henry's fingers give a little jab on his ribs, gently scolding. You carry too much. His instinct has always been to shoot back, no I don't, or I want to, but he bites it back and says, I know, and realizes it's the truth. Just, the way Henry always knows what to say is A, perfect. B, the way he can't, like, not want to say I love you anymore is perfect. It's so cute. I love every second of it. Like, Yeah, and then him realize, with this journey of self-discovery, and then Alex saying, you carry too much. He's like, actually, I maybe do. Like, maybe someone of, like, drive and passion and career is fantastic. But, when you're young, sometimes having a little bit of, like, maybe I want to see who I am. Maybe I don't want to be all career. Maybe I want to see who I am, or, feel my hair in the wind, not always be, like, going on these, like, crusades of politics and stuff. I think it's good and something he should really think about. We continue going downhill. I'm thinking about after inauguration, like next year, taking you back here, just the two of us. We can sit under the moon and not stress about anything. Oh, Henry says, that sounds nice, if unlikely. Come on, think about it, babe. Next year, my mum will be in office again, and we won't have to worry about winning any more elections. I'll finally be able to breathe again. Ugh, it'll be amazing. I'll cook in the mornings and we'll swim all day and never put clothes on and make out on the pier, and won't even matter if the neighbours see. Well, it will always matter, It will always matter. He pulls back to find Henry's face indecipherable. You know what I mean. Henry's looking at him and looking at him, and Alex can't shake the feeling Henry is really seeing him for the first time. He realizes it's probably the only time he's ever invited love into the conversation with Henry on purpose, and it must be lying wide open in his face. Something moves behind Henry's eyes. Where are you going with all this? Just the way Alex, in a way, he's kind of just thinking about himself. Not in a bad way. He's just like, with mum's election over and all that stuff, we'll be good. We'll be perfect. Like, everything will be good now because, that's over. Once my life's calm, we'll be able to do things again. And I feel like he forgets too much that Henry is the bloody Prince of Wales, the Prince of England, and he can't just have this life that is seemingly so easy. To Alex and who Alex is, and with Alex's family and position, it's not as hard to just be, open and be bi and, be happy and in love. But to Henry it is. And even if he decided quickly that he was going, I don't know, denounce the throne or just come out and be whatever, it would still be so tough, and his family has very different opinions. I feel like Alex doesn't consider that, but I know he just wants it because he loves him, and it hurts. I used to think if I pictured the person I wanted to be and took all the crazy anxiety in my brain and narrowed it down to that point, I could rewrite it, use it to power something else. It's like I never learned how just to be where I am. Alex takes a breath. And where I am is here, with you, and I'm thinking maybe I should start trying to take it day by day and just feel what I feel. Henry doesn't say anything. Sweetheart. The water ripples quietly around him as he slides his hands into Henry's face in both palms, tracing his cheekbones with the wet pads of his thumbs. The cicadas and the wind and the lake are probably all making sounds, somewhere, but it's all faded into silence. Alex can't hear anything but his heartbeat in his ears. Henry, Abruptly, Henry shifts, ducking beneath the surface and out of his arms before he can say anything. It crushes me. It crushes me so. Just like, he was gonna tell him he loves him. Like, that was it. Or like, do you want to be boyfriends? Or like, it definitely felt like it was going to be an I love you. And it just got too real for Henry. And he couldn't, because he knows he loves him. I think he knows that he wants to be with him, but he also knows he can't, and he's scared of what may happen. And he wants to, he wants to say yes, but he's scared like it'll be forbidden, or everything will crumble, or everyone will get hurt, and it's just easier to get away than deal with that, which is completely it makes so much sense. Like, there's too many like what ifs and things that could go wrong, and things in Henry's life that would all just crumble or decay, and it was too much for him. I think he really felt like this was the first time it was really real. Or like Alex had jumped not too far, but he had hit that point where they're both at no return, and he's like, I feel like I've got to get out of here, which makes so much sense. And he just says, if it's all the same to you, I think I'll go to bed. Alex doesn't know what to say, so he watches Henry walk the long line of the dock, disappearing into the darkness. A ringing, scooped-out sensation starts behind his molars and rolls down his throat, into his chest, down to the pit of his stomach. Something's wrong, and he knows it, but he's too afraid to push back or ask. That, he realizes suddenly, is the danger of allowing love into this. The acknowledgement that if something goes wrong, he doesn't know how he will stand. For the first time since Henry grabbed him and kissed him, with so much certainty in the garden, the thought enters Alex's mind. What if it was never his decision to make? What if he got so wrapped up in everything Henry is, the words he writes, the earnest heartsickness of him, he forgot to take into account just how he is, all the time, with everyone? What if he's done the one thing he swore he never would do, the thing he hates, and fallen in love with a prince because it was a fantasy? When he gets back to their room, Henry's already in his bunk, silent, his back turned. I don't think at all that he's, fallen in love with a fantasy. I think the fantasy is there, but and we agree that he has always loved him. He's always, had something for him. There was always something there, even when he hated him. But to start out at that hate, and if that never went forward, if Henry never started it and never kissed him, he would have never fallen in love. He would have just moved on with his life. So I definitely don't think that, he should blame himself to be like, I fall in love with the fantasy and the prince and not the person. I made the wrong decision. Maybe, yes, it was it was Henry's decision. Maybe it wasn't up for him to move things forward. It does definitely seem that Henry should make that decision because, he's the one with a life that could shatter or bigger things could go down. But I think it's always in love. It's good to put it out there, and it's better that than to regret it. And the story, I think, will still go forward in love, and he can fight for him, and it's beautiful. But it's so hard to watch him, starts in his molars, rolls down his throat. He realizes, he's kind of heartbroken. And these last couple of pages is why I said at the start, I am sad and trying to be happy, because reading this again is just making me sad. It's a hard end to the chapter, Henry's gone. Alex wakes up to find his bunk empty and made up, the pillow tucked neatly beneath the blanket. He practically throws the door off its hinges, running onto the patio, only to find it empty as well. The yard is empty, the pier is empty. It's like it was never even there. He finds a note in the kitchen. Alex, had to go for a family matter. Left with the PPOs. Didn't want to wake you. Thanks for everything. X. It's the last message Henry sends him. I don't know where we go into the next chapter. The last message Henry sends him, where does the next chapter? I can't piece it. I've already forgot the movie. This chapter has made me forget everything that I have ever been or ever thought in my life. I'm freaking out. I'm like, what's going wrong? My heart's shattering. I feel like Alex. I'm dying on the inside. I'm really warm. The light's killing me. I'm freaking out, man. Does the book, that chapter, do that to you? Does it make you send you into that much of craziness? Because it is me. I am freaking out. I love it. Because I love the feeling of sadness. Hear me out. Because, sadness like this, and in a lot of different cases, it means you care. I enjoy the feelings it gives me because I care about the book. I love the book. I love the characters. I love the writing and what's happening. I feel like, sadness and, heartbreak for them, sadness for me, and longing for more is what shows you care. And it's just such a fun time. It was such a good chapter until those last 3 pages where it just ripped out my heart, put it on the ground, stomped on it a little, and then, shot it 3 times. But it was such a roller coaster. What a roller coaster of a chapter. And I can't figure out how the next chapter is going to start. Obviously, I'll read it soon because I really want to. But just thinking about the movie, I'm like, I don't even remember where it goes. I'm like, do their emails leak? Or is it chapter 10's maybe where he has to fight to get him back? And then after he gets him back, that's when the emails leak? I don't remember what order of events happened, but I'm excited to refigure it out. But for now, this is the end. Sorry, me just completely thinking about Adele. This is the end of this chapter. Next, we will be going into chapter 10. I'm very excited. I hope you've enjoyed and are having had a good time. Had a great time along with me for nearly an hour. But For now, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in the next one.